Hey, this is the master mentalist Erik Dobell from Impossibilities.
And I'm Mike Fowler from Fowler's Clayworks.
And welcome to What's Up Gatlinburg.
What's up?
Your place for all things Gatlinburg. And we have the mayor here today.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can't get more What's Up Gatlinburg than that.
No,
Mayor
you
Mike
cannot.
Werner.
Yeah.
Good to be here with you guys, and excited to hear what we're going to talk about. Just let it rip.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We're going to get to know you. And you mentioned this actually off air, that one of the things that's really crazy about you is that you're just among the people.
Among the
we
people.
see you all the time, just walking around town.
Well, one thing about Gatlinburg, you learn either to love it and move here
Yeah.
or visit quite often. So we were here, in the mid-'70s. First time I was ever in Gatlinburg. Fell in love with
Really?
it then, and a few years later, packed up and moved here. And I've got 7 kids, 10 grandkids, 1 great-grandkid. I never thought I'd live have to say that. But
Now, great-grandkid, like a great-grandkid, or just a grandkid you like more than the other
no,
ones?
a great. Nice to hear people years ago talk about, well, I've got, so many grandkids and so many greats, and I'm going like, I felt the same thing. They're the ones that you like better. But my oldest grandson and his wife, they just had a little baby boy, so
Oh,
That's awesome,
congratulations.
it's pretty cool.
So just had.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah,
maybe
it's a little guy.
a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
See,
So
I'm
don't
gonna
ask
be-
me all my kids' birthdays and
Sure.
what year they were born.
Well,
because,
Cindy keeps up with
yeah,
that.
she does. She does a great job.
We all have a better half that helps us with those things, right?
Yo, well,
Thank the
I have a
Lord.
better quarter. I have an iPhone that reminds me of all these things.
If Andrea's
Well-
listening, you're in trouble.
Funny story about my iPhone. I had one of my grandkids put all the birthdays in, and a good part of them are wrong. So I'm calling people up, happy birthday. Well, it's next month.
Oh,
Look at this. There's Grandpa's saying happy birthday.
Yeah.
I believe he did what the kids call a troll.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just checking in.
That's
I
a
meant
pretty
next
good
month.
gag, though.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
test him.
So you got here in the early 70s from where?
From Illinois, North
Illinois.
Central Illinois, and moved down here is interesting. Moved out into Walden's Creek area,
Yeah.
just outside of Pigeon Forge,
Sure.
and moved into a little area called Dugan Loop,
Yeah.
and had 18 acres. I was buying half of the 36 acres that a friend of mine was buying. He couldn't afford the other half, and he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I'll buy the other half. He said, well, let's go to at least look at it first. I was going to buy it sight unseen. So came to Gatlinburg and walked the streets in October, stayed up Airport Road, some little motel up there. I think it was called the Buckeye.
Okay.
And
Man,
just
that's a long time
fell in
ago.
love with it.
Yeah.
And I had my oldest daughter, she just turned 45. Had her on a backpack in the back, walking up and down
Oh,
Gatlinburg,
wow.
smelling the fireplaces and the caramel corn, and
Yeah.
just thinking, this is such a cool place. And the couple we were with, they said, we got to show you this gorgeous view. So we drove up Greystone Heights, almost to the very top, and stopped there and said, look at this view. And it was the city below, Mount LeConte across from me, just gorgeous. Years later, we ended up buying that house,
Yeah.
which was remarkable. But, love Gatlinburg, love the people, which is the biggest, wonderful thing about this area is you get the history of the people. I was talking
Yeah.
to a friend of mine the other night, and he is a master photographer. Took a lot of he and his dad took the wildflower pictures, a couple spiral bound books that they have in the park and sell in the park.
Oh, wow.
And he was telling me just past history of different people in the Park Service that had worked different places, had different experiences. Fascinating. He'd be a great guy to
Yeah.
interview someday.
Yeah,
He's
we'll get that from you after the show.
super smart and
Yeah.
just really loves this area. And you learn about the history, like the Glenn Cardwells, the
Yeah.
people that were, really pace setters. A friend of mine, he made a great statement. He said, this is a great commission we've got right now, which I love our commission. I think it's one of the best we've ever had. But years ago at the inception of Gatlinburg, if they wanted a ski resort, they got a ski resort. They wanted, like an airport, they got an airport. They wanted a golf course. They got a golf course. You know, those guys were visionaries.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I'm just glad that we can pick up on a lot of stuff that they started and keep honing it and trying to improve it. And all the things that we should be about.
Yeah, sure.
I forget there was an airport here. That's
Yeah,
why it's Airport Road.
Yeah, and that was a good thing the city commission, I think, led by Ryan DeSeer, did, was get it back to Airport Road.
Yeah.
Awesome move, guys. Thank you. You know,
That's what everybody always knew about. You know, there's some things that they can change the name. I'm sure we'll always call Klingman's Dome, regardless, what it's named now. I don't even know what the name
they
is.
call it Kowalski, and I'm sorry if I butcher that, anybody. And then they put formerly known as Klingman's Dome underneath it, because it'll be a long. We've all known it as that.
You know, a neat thing too that Hubert Babb, he was.
Yeah.
He was an architect around here.
I believe he designed this building.
I'm sure he did.
He was the architect of this one for Cheryl Compton.
Really interesting guy. He studied under Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah.
Had a lot of the same concepts.
Oh, wow.
The house that I told you about, we drove up and saw the view from that we eventually owned. That was designed by Hubert Babb. It was the last house that he drew.
Mm-hmm.
And,
wow.
It was all concrete, steel, stucco. I thought that place was like a fortress, and we lost it in the fires, and we lost our business in the fires the same night, which was, life-changing.
Yeah.
But thankfully, things have worked out. I feel we're on a better side now than we were before. Brought a lot of unity to the community.
Brought a major amount of unity, man.
Yeah.
And, we were over in Asheville last week, and they're still suffering because they had the hurricanes, and their mayor was telling people, don't come, stay away. We're not ready.
We were doing the reverse.
Yeah, you were in the one commercial we
were
did.
in that commercial. Yeah, I was in a commercial with the mayor. Isn't that cool?
It was so cool. I thought, who's this guy? I thought you were an actor. I thought you were somebody they brought in. Yeah. So, but we were saying...
But we were telling people to come here.
Yeah, look what hasn't changed in Gatlinburg.
So we went through the different the commercial went to the different business sectors.
Yeah.
And my line was the artist still alive. Ripley's was the aquarium.
Yeah.
And then hey, we're open. Gatlinburg is great. Come visit.
Come visit. Come and come often.
Yeah. Come and come often. Yeah.
But it was, a devastating thing to the area. But it really, I thought, made people stronger and brought people closer together than ever before, because it was the people that were the biggest asset to this area.
Right. Yeah, and we talk a lot about connection to our visitors. I mean, you know that, and and I've told this story, and I'm gonna tell it again. I remember after that happened, coming back to the shop, and I think it was the end of 16, so I was on the second year of being in business for myself. But I used to keep a 3 foot by about 2 foot packing paper there on the counter, and when I answered or checked the voicemail, I filled up both sides of one paper with names and phone numbers of people calling to check.
Wow.
Yeah. And are you okay? Is there anything we can do? Just down, and I'm not the only story like that. We had thousands of people pouring themselves into their heart here, man.
I'll never forget the next morning going out to the community center, and that was like the what they call it, the point of where everything happened, and there was like 50 reporters, and I was thrown into this job of being the spokesperson for the area,
right?
And talk about nervous. I didn't know what I was going to say, so I'll never forget. I just prayed, Lord, just give me the words, whatever you want me to say, just tell me and I'll say them.
Yeah.
And the key words were, we're going to be okay. And that's what I think everybody needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
That whatever happened, we're going to be okay. And came back very strong.
And everybody stepped up, I felt like, If it wasn't a physical contribution, it was a mental. It was just, hey, man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
That meant so much to somebody at that time,
Showed the love.
It did.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of people just need to hear that,
I'll tell you a little bit more about my background. I got started with the Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
Years ago, probably 30 years ago.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And we were scraping and
early 90s
going on. Yeah. to get our marketing budget up, because we knew it was really important to advertise our area. So we finally got it up to 300,000. We thought we were doing fabulous. Now the budget's like $8 million.
Yeah.
But it was just so important that we knew what we had here.
Yeah.
And we started out where the McMahon Garage is now, one of the parking decks downtown. In the old Chamber building, which was a flat building, they had a little cubicle upstairs, and that's where we met every Thursday. And we would share all of our ideas, all of our thoughts, and we ended up marketing the city. We did all of the placement of the marketing and everything else. None of us knew what we were doing, but we learned real quick.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to become good friends with Robert Montgomery.
Right.
Okay.
And it was interesting because he built a miniature golf course downtown on the hillside,
Yeah.
and there was a building available. And we went to the IAPA show and saw Qzar. That was the first laser tag game that really became popular. And he said, man, we really need to do that, put it in that building there. But he said, I'm out of money. And I just got married again for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And our house that my wife's dad gave her years ago, we just had remodeled it. And I said, well, and I barely knew Robert. I just knew him from going to these meetings, but I knew he was one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And I thought, what we'll do is we'll mortgage our house, and get the money to go into Qzar. And Robert said, well, nobody will take any, payment until your house is paid off, and it was paid off in 3 months. It was an amazing job, a life-changing job that was incredible.
That was a good
you see
investment.
the lines at Anakeesa, that's the lines we had at Qzar. It
Yeah.
was,
Wow.
the 9th one in the nation.
Well, they still have the laser tag there, don't they?
Yeah, but it's Laser Runner or whatever out of Canada. Qzar was like the hot thing. And you go to the
Talking
IAPA show.
1990s, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
Qzar.
ever went to the IAPA shows. It's attractions.
I have actually. Yes, I have been to one.
Well, we went to one in. We went to one in Vegas. Went to one in Miami. Went to one in.
Vegas is the one I went to.
New Orleans, and so Robert, he says, let's find the one activity or one location that's got the biggest crowd, and that's what we need to get. So we went and looked at this Qzar.
Oh, that's smart.
And it was just rocking.
Yeah.
And so we got into that, and then we took the Old Wax Museum and turned it into a miniature golf and indoor go-karts, which was a new thing because of the attraction, the distance from the parkway. That one exception, you have to be 300 feet or whatever it was. So we were worried about Aeromont being right next to us and the noise of the go-karts. So we went in there. It was still the Wax Museum, and it was like sort of quiet and quaint type of setting. So I went in there with my chainsaw, took the bar off it, and cranked it up, and I was just revving it up. These people were freaking out in there, and Robert was outside the building, and I opened the door, and he goes, "We're good."
Did you have a hockey mask on?
No, but we did. They had a. That's funny. They had it was an old movie theater.
Yeah.
A long time ago. It was the Sevier County's only movie theater, and they had it was called a swamp system. They would have suction fans that would bring in the outdoor air through a shield of water, and that's how they cooled the the area. So what we did, I said, let's just turn everything around and suck the exhaust out, because they were gas burning go-karts.
Yeah, sure.
So much fun.
You didn't want a carbon monoxide poisoning gas, right?
Well, the thing is, I had I got a carbon testing kit, so I would go around different places in there, and I knew what were the cleanest air spots. So we had OSHA come and give us their stamp of approval. So I'd be over here, I go, my gosh, look at this, is reading perfect. Then I'd move to another one of my spots. I said, this is another perfect spot. The guy said, you're good.
So this was kind of your birth into tourism kind of here?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The attractions.
your impact is actually felt all over town then.
Maybe.
Maybe.
On a good side, hopefully. But then we got into the lodging business.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we were at the Highlands condos for like 32 years. And that was interesting because I was working construction. I worked construction in Illinois, which was back in the 70s. You were making big bucks, like $13.50 an hour, something like that.
In the 70s.
Came down here and it's $4.50 an hour, and you were like either digging in a ditch, driving a truck, or on a piece of equipment, and everything up there was like 100% union. You just, if you had a piece of equipment, that's all you did. You were just on it. So I got to be friends with the secretary of the people that own this property up in Shagbark, and they were doing a development out in Colorado, and so anyway, her husband was the attorney for the developers. So he drove out one day to the job site, and he waved at me, and I waved at him, and he said, "Come on over." So I went over and talked to him. He said, "How would you like to sell condominiums?" And I said, "Well, I can't even spell it. I don't know if I could sell it." So that's how I got started at the Highlands. They said, "Well, come in, at least do an interview." So I put on a sport coat and a tie, and I sat there for the interview for like, probably an hour. And they were asking me questions. I had no idea what they were talking about. So I'm sitting out, and they said, "Well, go out and wait in this room out there. We'll be with you in a minute or two." So I sat out there, and I thought, surely they're not going to hire me. This will never happen. And this one developer comes out. He said, "I know why we're doing this, but we're going to hire you." So I said, "Oh, no." So I went up, and
He said, "I don't know why we're doing this, but we're going to
yeah. And I'm going, like, great.
That's a great attaboy.
Yeah, what did I do right? So we went up there, and I got a little office, and I had a card table and a telephone and a little computer that I had no idea how to even turn on. And the first year I was up there, I sold like about $2.5 million worth of condos, and that was at
There you go.
50 and 100,000 range. So
Wow.
and that was
that, I know. That
interest rates were like 14.5%.
Wow.
So, but I had no idea even what that meant,
Sure.
And finally, and this one developer, he kept telling me, "Well, I've got some great sales tapes I'd like you to listen to, and some books and stuff." And I said, So finally, I listened to one of the sales tapes, and it had these different, tricks you could try. So I started trying them, and they were working. It was like, it was incredible. But
it's how we learn, man.
Yeah. And then
That's not where I thought that story was going.
Yeah.
It's like they worked.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they worked.
I want to know what these tapes are now.
Oh, they were great. One was like, "Just give me $1,000." And this one guy, he was like from South Carolina, and he had this South Carolina drawl. I said, "Just tell him, just give me $1,000, and if they want to change their mind, just tear the check up." So I'd tell people that, "Just give me $1,000 deposit," and they go, "That's all you need?" I said, "Yeah, I trust you." And they'd give me a check for $1,000, and if they changed their mind, we'd just throw it away.
Huh.
It worked great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I wasn't the smartest young man, but I knew when opportunity, and sometimes you don't know when it's opportunity.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes when people ask you something, just say yes.
Yeah. Take a chance.
Take a chance.
Take
man.
a chance.
I'm glad you hit on Robert Montgomery, too.
We should get him on here.
Oh, what a smart guy.
Dude, I honestly learned a lot of great people on that board.
Yeah.
I learned more from him, even when his conversations can go very long.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know.
Yeah.
But I learned more from him.
Smart guy.
Smart guy. Just listening to him.
Yeah.
Even when he may not be exactly right. But and I know something else I noticed about him. He'll come back and say he wasn't right.
Oh, yeah. He's got...
he could argue...
no ego at all.
Yeah.
He wants what's best for Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
And then I ran for chamber board and got elected chamber board president, which was amazing.
Yeah. So we'll
went through some real growing times of Gatlinburg, and then in the late 90s, people asked me to run for city council. a lot of people. And I think it's always good to be asked instead of say, well, I'm going to do it myself. You know, I'm ready to do it. I'm going to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
But I had several people I really respected that asked me if I would run, so I went door to door, every household in Gatlinburg. It took me about 6 weeks, hour and a half a day. I didn't work on Sundays, but every other day. And I didn't know half the houses were
So
rentals.
this was leading you into your political...
Yeah, that was my first venture.
First dive at it.
In the
You had been
political
involved
field.
with the chamber. Now we're stepping up into the...
City council.
Yeah.
And
So you went to every house in Gatlinburg. And
every
said-
house in Gatlinburg.
Any horror stories from that?
Some people. Well, one funny story is this one guy, and he's passed away now. Herb Ombie. He lived up on by treetops up in that area,
Yeah.
and so I knocked on his door, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the families. I didn't know who to talk to, who not to talk to. I was just eager. So I went in and knocked on his door, and he said, "Yeah, son, have a seat." And we sat and talked for a good hour. I mean, about everything. And I thought, this is going really good. And at the very end, he goes, "Now, son," he said, "you know, you ain't from here, so I can't vote for you." And I'm going, "What?" But taught me a lot, you know,
Sure.
to be able to, you know, give everybody their respect, pay their respect and dignity, and whoever
Well, at least
it is.
he was
And-
helping you out in case you won.
Yeah, and if you don't ask somebody for their vote, they probably think you don't want it. So you've got to ask everybody, even if you see them again. If I see you 3 times at Food City, every time if I'm running, I say, "Hey, don't forget about me."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Counting on your vote, because you never know. I mean, it's the scariest thing in the world to run for some political
Oh,
position.
jeez. I can't imagine.
Because,
I have so many skeletons in my closet.
well, it's that stress.
Yeah.
You know, of thinking, you know, I don't want to do something if I'm not going to be successful.
Yeah, and that's the difference
Yeah.
between good leaders and someone that just comes in and fills the seat, you know?
Yeah. But I'll tell you, it's scary, because especially not knowing anybody. And I got to know people, and I learned who some people were by my being involved with the chamber, but the city was altogether different. And, you know, you want to keep a nice balance between what's good for business and what's good for the citizens.
Sure.
And a good example, we've got the new baseball field up in Minot Park, which is gorgeous.
Pickleball courts, baseball
yeah,
field.
Yeah, good point. And I'll tell you a little story. We had a grand opening at the baseball field, and it used to be, if you remember years ago, it'd just be like a mud hole, you know, in the infield before they raised it up and put all the drainage in and turfed it. Infield's turfed, outfield's turfed. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. So we were there at this grand opening, and this guy said to me, he said, "We want you to throw out the first pitch." And I'm going, "Oh my God." I haven't even held a baseball, let alone thrown one in
I
probably
couldn't imagine.
20 years.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh gosh, what do I do? So I got up there, and the catcher was down there, and I said, "You ready?" And he said, "Yeah." And people were on the side giving me, you know, tips and hints. And this one friend of mine, he said, "One thing that you want to do is throw it farther and harder than you think you should," because it's been a long time.
Whoa.
So I got up there, talk about nervous. I was just biting bullets, and I threw the ball through a perfect pitch. Couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
And I thought, "Thank you, Lord, I'm done. I'll never throw another one." Don't ask me to throw any more first pitches.
How long did you have to ice your arm afterwards?
For days.
Yeah.
So we're out meeting people, door to door.
Yeah.
And what was the first spot you were running for? Was it just a commission seat?
Just a commission seat. See,
Okay.
our commission's got 5 commissioners, and the mayor is appointed each year by the commission.
Oh,
So it's called a city manager government, which I didn't know any of this before I even ran. So the government is called a city manager government, where we have Greg Patterson. He'd
Sure.
be another good one to interview.
yeah, Greg's a great guy. We should get him in here.
He is the city manager. The commission itself, the mayor, the vice mayor, and the 3 other commissioners, we set policy and say, this is what we'd like to do, and then they carry it out. And then they do it. Rocky Top Sports World, that's another good example of something that was really good for the community. You know, when it first started, they were going to have it off 416, and nobody really got behind it because they didn't know who was going to get the lodging from it, who was going to get the restaurant use and attractions and stuff like that. So it sort of just floundered along, and then the crash of '08 hit, and it sort of got put on the shelf. But we were in Murfreesboro at a TML convention. I was president of TML one year, and I thought that was
TML is
Tennessee Municipal League, and
Okay.
I thought that would be really a cool thing to do that. But it was during COVID, so all the meetings were Zoom, and it was horrible. But anyway, we were in Murfreesboro at a Tennessee Municipal League meeting. We're all sitting around, and I said, you know, we can just do our own if that's not going to work. They said, well, where do you think we could put it? And I said, well, how about Pittman Center? Got all those fields down there. So we ran it up the flagpole at Pittman Center, and it was like not only no, but it was like no. They didn't want it out there. They didn't want any type of, you know, new economy or attractions or anything. They like it the way it is.
right,
Sort of, I call it Mayberry.
right.
But so anyway, we gave it some time, and then Greg Patterson and Jack Pardon, you guys know them. They called me up and said, "How about doing it contiguous to the high school?" I said, "Well, we got Mrs. Maple's house up there, and she had just passed away, but nobody knew what was going to happen with that. It was like a mansion." And then there was 10 acres out in the front that some conglomeration from Texas bought. So I said, well, let's see what we can do. So we got a hold of Walter State. She had bequeathed the property to them. And they said, yeah, we'll sell it to you. And then we contacted the guys in Texas, and they said, yeah, we'll sell it to you for what we got in it. You know, they changed their plans and their minds. So it all worked out. And
So Rocky Top is kind of new then.
It just turned 10 years old.
Yeah, just
so
had
that's
10th
that's
anniversary.
new.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a great concept. It actually came to fruition up on our balcony on our house that burned. We were all out on the deck, and I said, you know, we got to do this, and everybody was for it, and that's just sort of a handshake deal. That's how it happened.
I remember when people start talking, I said, this isn't going to, you know, I'll be honest with you, I was like, I just don't see it.
Skeptical.
I was skeptical. And
But, you
but
know-
now look at I was wrong.
Well,
Yeah, that place is great.
people will spend money thinking their kids will become better athletes
Sure.
in high school, maybe never make it to D1 schools, but they enjoy watching their kids play, and they'll give up other things to spend money on that.
And what it's done to the economy here, man. I
Oh,
mean,
it's huge.
you know, a great, you know, like I said, I was wrong, man, and it's turned out to be one of the greatest things this city, you know, has done.
Their
We've seen-
economic impact is over
Yeah.
$80 million.
Oh my God.
So that's huge.
You know, these activities that the families can come and do together, and then when they're not playing the sports, getting out and enjoy. And besides what all they can do with it here, what a backdrop!
Oh yeah,
When you step out onto a field to play a game there,
prettiest
Yeah.
one in the world, probably.
Well, we go to the library a lot there, me and my daughter, and we get out of the car and we just stop
Yeah.
and look at the mountains. It's like
what a
it's a
backdrop!
nice
So
view.
much
Yeah.
fun.
What a backdrop! And I hear that, you know, because we get a lot of the soccer moms and the basketball moms when they get breaks between games, they'll
Yeah.
come down this way.
Oh yeah,
And we hear that, you know, like, well, we play these leagues in these different spots, but this is the prettiest place.
yeah.
You know,
it's
get there and forget a game's going on because you're staring at the mountains.
We went up to Louisville.
Uh-huh.
It was when we first were getting started. I mean, before we were even moving dirt out there. And we skinned the buses with Rocky Top Sports World. And on each bus they had a TV, and we had done a video talking about what it was going to be and blah, blah, blah. So we got out to Churchill Downs, and they thought that Churchill Downs, the city of Louisville, threw this huge party at the racetrack. They thought we did it because the buses said Rocky Top Sports World taking them out there. I'd go around and tell people, get all you want to eat. You want another drink? Go help
I'm
yourself.
sure they
You know?
appreciated that. You're welcome, guys.
Louisville's going, what? But a lot of good things have happened in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
A lot of great things.
Great things, man.
Yeah, I've only been here. This is my 9th year, so I thought Rocky Top had probably been here for like 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Seems like so. It seems like it's hard
really
to believe to
integrated.
remember it wasn't here now.
And we've had great GMs, and the one we got right now, Doug Grote.
Oh, great guy, man.
Primo.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
He's taken the sponsorship. We've got a meeting this afternoon. We got a professional company to do some redesigns on the interior because 10 years old, you get a lot of repeat business. It's time to upgrade and make some changes. So we're having a meeting. This company did a fabulous job. 5 different plans for us to look at. That's enough just to make your head swim. So we said, well, we like this from this one, this one, this one. So they've combined them all together into one.
Nice.
Taking the best. So we get to see it this afternoon.
That's awesome, man. So what year was the first year you got on the commission?
1999.
99.
So I've been on there 26 years.
Wow, man. And when did you become mayor?
I became mayor probably in around 1912 or something like that. We used to pass the mayorship around, like one person get it, the next year another person get it. And then the fire really sort of identified me with being the spokesperson for Gatlinburg.
Did you say 1912?
No,
2012.
2012.
Okay, it's just like,
Thank you.
are you a vampire? Did
I'm
we just
glad,
get a
I'm glad
scoop?
you're listening because I could just ramble on.
So 2012, you became mayor
Yeah,
for the first time.
yeah.
So,
So it used to bounce around, but it doesn't so much now.
And it's appointed each year.
yeah,
so I think that's,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
You answered
really
my question about why I see on the signs city commission, and I know that
Yeah.
I've never seen like mayor
Yeah.
or
See, there's like Sevierville has a mayoral government.
Yeah.
Pittman Center does. They have an elected
Sure.
mayor. But Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg are the same with just city manager.
So you'll get on the city commission, and the city commission will take a vote then as to.
They vote every June. It's like an election. And
Yeah.
then I'll ask for nominees, and
Sure.
somebody will nominate somebody, and then you vote for that person. Then vice mayor's voted on. The rest are
Well, that must be
commissioners.
nice too, because then you can actually just focus on your job. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah,
being
you do a
elected
lot of ribbon
necessarily.
cuttings.
Yeah.
I love to greet groups that come to Gatlinburg. That's my favorite thing. 'Cause I
Yeah.
always tell them, I said, you guys could go anywhere you want, anywhere in the United States or the world.
Yeah.
But you choose Gatlinburg, and we've only got one industry, and that is tourism, and you make our tourism successful by being here. Then I would say, go spend a lot of money, and if you need any help with anything, call a city manager.
Yeah. It's awesome. So, where do you see Gatlinburg going? Where it is today, and how do you see it evolving? Because you talked earlier about being in, the 90s and listening to the older gentlemen then and the visionaries and the things they did.
It's a great question. I think Gatlinburg, we need to continue to expand our business, but we're landlocked pretty much because of the
Yeah.
national park and because of the topography. We don't have a big footprint like Sevierville or Pigeon Forge. We're different, and we want to stay different. We want to stay a quaint mountain community, which is challenging at times because a lot of times people just want to say, just keep expanding and growing, but I think it's good to continue building, but to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And not do it that it's going to be shoddy or harmful to any neighborhoods. Thankfully, Gatlinburg still has some neighborhoods that they don't allow nightly rental, which are very sought after. The sales prices are not as high because you take the component of what you can make on renting it into account. But a lot of people, they don't want that transient nightly rental next to their homes, next to where they live. A lot of times it's sort of a distraction, to say the least. But,
Yeah.
I think we want to continue to do things for our citizens and continue to keep our town looking good. I think the aesthetics are a big thing. You don't want something that's gaudy, funky colors, stuff like that. I think it's more, keep it more nature, goes well with the park, earth tones.
Yeah.
If something's dilapidated, needs to be taken down, have the ordinances put in place that you can do those things. I think it's just important that you continue to tweak it and make it as good as it can be. That's my vision of it.
You don't want that Vegas look.
No, and it's easy to sort of just let anything go. Like, we don't have electronic moving signs, which we haven't had for years, and I think that's
I like the fact we don't have that kind of stuff.
It's a positive thing. Our school system, it's very important that we keep it strong and keep it good.
We have one of the best school systems right here that you could,
oh yeah,
these graduating kids here, man, our business community, our cities are great for these kids. Like, the opportunities these kids have when it's incredible.
They really do. Look at other places that don't offer that.
A kid comes in here, a kid somewhat puts a positive attitude forward, works just a little bit harder. They're going to school.
Yeah.
They can be what they want to be.
Yeah.
I didn't have that kind of opportunity when I was a kid.
Yeah. Good point.
I
always tell my kids, if you want to succeed, just try a little harder than most everybody else.
Yeah.
And you're going to stand out in a great way.
Yeah.
Just a little harder.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It just doesn't take a whole lot,
Yeah.
But we do a really good job at fostering the next generation, I think, which I probably, and one of the things I think Gatlinburg has for it to move forward. And you know this. We were talking about this earlier, and I know you know this. And I didn't realize how much it happened until I got involved with our Chamber Board of Directors, which is also our tourism board. The different business sectors and our city commission and the different types of business, how we all work together.
Yeah.
It's huge.
You've got to.
It's
There's a lot of
huge.
places that doesn't happen.
And our tourism board is also very responsive, giving us information, statistics. Our city gives statistics. They give statistics.
Yeah.
All that information shared so we can make choices and
we know stuff.
And we know
you
stuff.
want businesses to thrive.
Yeah.
You want them to do well. And by doing that, you need information.
And I think that encouragement to everybody, lifting each other up, also radiates to our public,
Absolutely.
And gives that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all love it.
So, let me ask you guys a question.
Sure.
When did you come up with the idea of the podcast?
I had the idea when I came here.
Yeah.
I got the idea from another podcast I was listening to that actually was based out of Vegas, and I'm like, well, it'd be great to do something like that here. But this was 7 or 8 years ago, and people did not want to be on a podcast. And then I kind of gave up on the idea, and then you asked me about it.
So I
maybe
had
like a year ago.
My first one was called Around the Potter's Wheel, which is still kind of that theme, a little bit of that theme.
Yeah.
But
cool.
I was just interviewing artists, or walking through something.
Local artists.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right out here in the art and craft community. But I don't know. I kind of got, because we hit a lot of people and it was good topics, and I hope pick back up on that one day. But me and him were talking, and I feel like when you come into Sevier County, first off, we call it What's Up Gatlinburg, because most people think they're in Gatlinburg, even when they're in Sevier County.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Dollywood, I'm in Gatlinburg.
It's just, But the other thing was, when you come into the area, there's so much going on. You hit with this, hit with that, and a lot of times some of the smaller businesses or some of these hidden stories disappear into that mix. So him and I were talking about, we thought this would be a good idea to highlight some of this.
That's great.
And
people can listen to a podcast when they're driving somewhere or sitting around looking for something to do.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's great. Kevin Tierney, I know you guys know Kevin.
Yeah.
He and I, we did this thing. It was called Inside Gatlinburg, and we're trying to get it started back up a little bit. And we'd interview people with different topics, and we used to say, get them in the can before they're in the ground. And we've missed a lot.
It's true, man. A lot of those stories have disappeared.
And if you don't capture them, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to interview Glenn Cardwell out of the Pittman Center School. And that was
There's a museum there at that school and named after him.
Yeah, and he would talk about some of the other older people, that were founders of this area. And Pittman Center had a lot to do with Gatlinburg becoming Gatlinburg, as successful as it is.
So I got to Gatlinburg in 2006. My wife and I honeymooned here in 2003.
Did you really?
Yeah. We stayed out at Wayful at Pittman Center area.
Whoa.
Yeah, we stayed out there.
Isn't that wild?
And we came in and we toured. We came on a friend's suggestion. And we picked a rainy day to do the art and craft community, and that's when I met Robert Aleline.
Were you a potter before you?
Yes, I was.
Gotcha.
At that time, about 10 years into it. But I met him and eventually got a job here, and we moved here in 06. But there was a gentleman that worked at the shop by the name of Tom Morton. And he lived at the corner of Prophet and Glades Road.
Yeah.
Where they now leveled it and they're getting ready to build something.
Yeah.
But anyways, Tom and I became good friends.
Really?
And Tom would take me into Greenbrier and show me where things were. I mean, he grew up playing in this park, man. Things have overgrown, but he would show me like where they raised trout back there was a CCC camp, you know, and where old mills used to be, where there was an old hotel. But anyways, like you back to that, those stories are
priceless.
They're priceless,
Yeah, they're
man.
priceless.
I'll take some of my friends, visitors who become friends, and go back there and show them. They're like, "How do you know this?"
We interviewed Lucinda Ogle.
Yeah.
And she was in a family, what's his name? Casey Oakley. Oakley. He was one of her kins. She was an Oakley before she was an Ogle. And Wiley Oakley.
Yeah.
He was like one of her brothers. And it was just amazing, the stories that she told. And it makes me want to go look at those videos again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I got
Are those on the YouTube?
Yeah, you can YouTube most of them.
Okay, we'll have to tag
Yeah,
that
there's
then.
a lot of stuff.
We had built the convention center, and we thought we'd just run it ourselves. The city, which was a huge mistake. That's why we got involved with. We got Rocky Top with a professional management company, night and day. Because I said, remember what we did back at the convention center.
Yeah.
So they were looking to do inside Gatlinburg. I think Vern Hippensteel came up with the concept, and they had 3 or 4 different people that were going to do the interviews, and when they got in front of the camera, they just clammed up. And when I got in front of the camera, I just talked, just like I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, you got the job." But it was so fun. We would do, and we would learn. Don't take it on too long, but cover the topic.
Yeah, sure.
And make it interesting and. Get that stuff in the can.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
Good.
That's really cool. That's a much. Inside Gatlinburg is a better name that we came up with.
I don't know. I think it resonates with today. I think it's 2025 completely.
Yeah. What up, Gatlinburg?
What up? I like it. I like it. I was looking at some of the podcasts you guys have done. It's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, man, Mike, thanks for coming in here and talk. Man, we'll get you back. We'll talk further. I know we could go on for hours here.
Hope I didn't ramble on too much.
We all love it.
No,
absolutely not.
Yeah, we can get you back on here again if anybody has any questions for the mayor.
Sure.
Just shoot us an email or leave a comment. Probably better.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
it's a great place to live, great place to work, great place to raise a family, great place to go to school.
yeah, this guy, he's got one coming up through the ranks.
Cutest little girl.
Yes.
She's a little dog.
I got one graduating. He's got one coming up through the ranks. You got one about to get married.
Yeah. 7 kids. They're all doing really good. I'm so happy. That makes you feel really good.
Do you ever forget about some of them?
No, they're all good.
You don't have time to forget.
They call you and you're like, whoa, where are you again?
The grandkids are all great. I've got one that he's just got accepted medical school or dental school in Memphis. He's going to be an orthodontist.
Wow.
Another one that is playing football up at UVA. He might go pro one day. Who knows? He's got the talent.
Wow.
And all the kids are doing great. Grandkids are all doing good. They're very musical. A lot of them. One family, Martha, my oldest daughter, her kids are all very talented. One's a rock climber, one of the top in the country.
Wow.
Just great kids. With Christmas and Easter is when we always get together, or Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I can sit there and just talk to them forever. What are you doing? What's new in your life? What have you been up? What's up?
Yeah. What's up?
But appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. And it's cool, we get to tie all these pieces together, man. But again, man, thanks for taking your time. I know you're a busy fella and coming in here and doing this. And
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
The more people that they love Gatlinburg. That's the cool thing about it. And the repeat business is huge.
Huge.
People come back year after year. When we were up the Highlands, we'd see people come in, then they became grandparents, and their kids would have kids, and then those little kids eventually would grow up and they would be back. We were there 32 years, so you would see this transition of generational families.
Yeah.
And they all love Gatlinburg. They all have certain things they like to do, and you know, people used to come in and say, "Where can you go for like nightlife and entertainment?" And I go, "There's really none." But now you've got Old Red, you've got Jason Aldean's.
Yeah, isn't that cool? We had Jason Aldean here.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And Kenny, the guy that is like his front man,
yeah,
super guy.
And that's just so cool. We had him right in the middle of the city, man.
Yeah.
So cool, man.
And you know, and people love to come here. One statistic is 70% of the first people that come here never make it into the park.
Right.
The first time that 70% make it
man.
into the park, don't get out of their car.
Yeah, it's
they
huge,
just do
man.
a drive-through.
Huh.
So, you know, for us to have this fabulous park right next door, that's what's made Gatlinburg Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Gatlinburg was Gatlinburg before Pigeon Forge or Sevierville were
Sure.
anything.
Yeah.
I always say too bad Gatlinburg didn't just buy Pigeon Forge because it was cornfields.
Yeah.
You know, you could've
Yeah, you're
got-
welcome, Pigeon Forge.
Yeah. And we could have bought the Bent Creek Golf course out there and all that property for like $900,000 years ago. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
But can't cry over
Yeah,
spilt milk,
those
man.
are all things, you know,
Yeah.
you look back and say, I don't want to be 30 years down the road and say, why didn't they do this?
Yeah.
You know, we want to make good decisions now for the future.
I think the decisions were right. You know, because I mean, you were able to focus on what's inside
Yeah.
and keep it.
It's thriving.
It's thriving.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm Mike Fowler with Fowler's Clayworks.
I'm Erik Dobell. Don't forget to subscribe, share this with your friends, leave a comment, etc., etc., etc. And we will talk to you guys again soon.
Awesome. Good job.
Man. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Very good job.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this.
Good luck on the election coming up.
Yeah.